What up, folks? Nick Battle, aka Nino's Corner, man. Look, just doing a quick drive down to Panama City Beach, Florida. You guys know I live in Alabama now for the next year, so I'm actually in Montgomery, driving down to Florida right now. Meet my wife and kid down at the beach. But look here, man. I'm just driving. Wanted to talk about the Colin Simmons recruitment again. I know I did a video yesterday on his commitment on Thursday, actually. And that's been kind of percolating here for the last couple of days. But I just want to talk about just the defensive side of the ball and just the recruiting process all along from Coach Sarkisian. Look, Coach Sarkisian, what he has done right now as far as the recruiting process, outstanding. He came into a team here at Texas where we had some, no kidding, definite needs on this team, especially at the offensive line. I did a video about a year or two ago where I kind of stated from the previous two coaching staffs when it came to the offensive line and recruiting, they had a total of 18 total scholarship commitments from the offensive line position over the previous 5 years, which was dead last in the Big 12, tied with Kansas. People were wondering why we're getting in dog fights with Kansas and Kansas beating us and us having 5-7 seasons, 6-6 seasons, maybe an 8-4 season sprinkled in there every now and then. But for the most part, we're an average team. 6-6 was kind of our mean, basically, when it came to the team. And that's because we didn't build up the trenches. Sark comes in and immediately, folks, solves that. Well, first off, out of those 18, folks that were on scholarship, when Sark got in, only 12 remained on the team. Whether the other 6 got either kicked off the team, they transferred, or had like a medical retirement. So yeah, there are only 12 of those scholarship guys left on the team. So that'll tell you something. One of those guys ended up moving to the defensive side of the ball. So, I mean, that should tell you something too, folks. We had no offensive line talent here on the team. I didn't say no, but we didn't have enough. We didn't have the depth, and we didn't have the quality of guys that Steve Sarkisian wants. Steve Sarkisian comes in Texas, man, and immediately solves that. In that first year, getting 7 offensive linemen, headlined by Kelvin Banks Jr., DJ Campbell, Neto. Those are, I think, were like the 3 headliners for that group. Cam Williams as well. And then in that second group, getting another 5. Basically, I think that class was headlined by Chapman and Kirkland, Conestoga, which is probably one of my favorite guys in that class. But look, he got 5 and 7 in 2 years, respectively, folks, which is 12, which was the total number of offensive line commitments and scholarship guys that were left on the team for the previous 5 years combined. So in 2 years, he equaled what he had when he came in here to Texas. Truly outstanding there from Sark. So he addressed the biggest need there, quarterback position. I thought we were a little thin at the quarterback position. After Sam Ellinger left, we had Casey Thompson, Hudson Card. A battle there. Hudson wins it. Casey gets the starting job after the Arkansas game. Doesn't look back. But Casey didn't do too much of anything when he goes to Nebraska. That kind of shows you the coaching prowess of Sark, just to let you know how good of an X and O's guy he is, to basically have Casey Thompson become an all Big 12 performer. And then he goes to another school, and I don't even think he's playing there anymore. If he is, Casey's not doing what everybody thought he was going to do once he got to Nebraska. So it shows you just the X's and O's schematics that Sark has. But we had to get that quarterback room sewed up. And what does Sark do? Goes out and gets Quinn Ewers from the transfer portal. Goes out and gets Malik Murphy, who was a 5-star guy, and he got downgraded because of the COVID year and everything. But all Murphy does is in the next year when he starts to go win a state championship. And then after getting Malik Murphy, he goes out and gets Arch Manning, folks. So he has shored up that room when it comes to quarterbacks has been completely revamped. Outstanding room there for Texas. And in Texas, look, folks, the running back room. Look, he killed it. Absolutely killed it. Going and getting Cedric Baxter. If I'm not mistaken, Jaden Blue was in the year prior to that as well. Going out and getting Gibson, Clark this year. I mean, he's been rainmaking at the wide receiver position as well. Jonte Cook, bringing in Xavier Worthy, A.D. Mitchell, Isaiah Nayer, DeAndre Moore, Ryan Nibbler. I think you guys see where I'm going here, right? Sark has brought an outstanding talent to this team, and it's something that this team is needed from the offensive side of the ball. But the question was, yes, he's an offensive coordinator. He is great at offense, and of course, kids are going to want to come play in his offense. They saw what he just did at Alabama with the greatest, probably, offensive team, on a turf when they went there and won the championship when Devontae Smith won the Heisman, and he did great things with a Mac Jones. But can you do it on defense as well? So Sark has been solely chipping away at the defensive side of the ball and recruiting, going to get the defensive backs, the B.J. Allens, Malik Muhammad's, Derek Williams, man. I mean, he went and got some great guys on defense. Warren Roberson as well. Was able to go get an Ethan Burke and then flip a Colton Vasek, from Oklahoma to Texas. Jamon Taps. But one thing that Sark, I don't think, did on the defensive side of the ball, which I was kind of worried about, is like he's got everything sewed up, every possession sewed up. But we got to get some, no kidding, SEC caliber interior defensive linemen, big, strong, physical guys, and we got to get some no kidding edge rushers that are going to harass the quarterback once we get to the SEC. Sark has proved that in these last 2 cycles, man. You look at the interior offensive lineman, getting us Adair Mitchell last year, a 340-pound guy, coming from up north at Georgia when it was a dogfight between Texas and Georgia. And then this year, 6'5", 315, 320-pound defensive lineman in Alex January from Duncanville. And then going to go get a DeAndre Robinson from Florida, from the same high school. I think Jones High School out of Orlando, Florida, same high school that we got Kirkland from last year. Another 6'4", 320-pound interior defensive lineman. And then we add that with a guy like Melvin Hills Jr., from Lafayette. And I had the pleasure of actually talking to Melvin Hills on a Twitter space. Just a really good dude, man. He's coming to work, folks. And then we go up and show up that edge position, getting the number 1 edge in the country, a top 5 player in the country in Colin Simmons, 22.5 sacks last year at Duncanville High School. Now, guys, I think everybody knows top ball that gets played here in the country is probably in the state of Texas when it comes to high school ball. And then I got this stat here from Rob Babers. Rob Babers said that Dallas area alone produces more NFL talent than every state in America, minus Florida, and I think Georgia, and of course Texas as a composite. But Florida and Georgia, I think, are the only 2 states that produce more NFL talent than the Dallas-Fort Worth area. That's coming from Rob Babers. Great podcast that he has with the Rodcast. Folks, that's saying a lot. What Sark has done in the Dallas area has been able to sew up the competition there. Outstanding. Colin Simmons, Alex January, just in this cycle alone. And going there and getting for the state championships at Duncanville High, man, that's truly outstanding. So Sark has done his part. Going to go get that defensive line talent, the interior line talent, to make sure that we are able to compete in the SEC just along that line here for the next couple of years, and going to get players that people want. People are going to look at Alex January, say he's a 3-star. Yeah, okay, whatever. Go look at his no-kidding offer list, see who wanted them. Teams that always put out great defensive line talent. Pretty much every team in the SEC wanted them. LSU wanted them bad. Go look at DeAndre Robinson. I think he had 62 offers or something of that nature. And then he goes and plucks them from the state of Florida. That's a lot of schools in Florida, folks, top-tier schools between the University of Florida, Florida State, Miami. And we see what Miami's doing on the recruiting show right now. So for us to go into Florida and get some of their top talent, whether it's Jared Gibson, whether it is DeAndre Robinson, we're able to go in there and get the guys that we want. And so I'm excited about what Sark is doing here from the recruiting side of the house, especially the defense side of the ball. And one thing, I was talking to my boy Ty from, ATS Sports, Around the Table Sports. And he brought up the notion that Sark's got to close the borders in Texas, and I think that's what's going to happen here when Texas goes to the SEC. I think when Texas A&M went to the SEC, it opened up the borders for every other SEC team to come into Texas and kind of steal our talent. But now with Texas and Oklahoma going back to the SEC, or going into the SEC, you got 3 really good brands that are in the state of Texas or right around the state of Texas that have always competed for talent in the Dallas-Fort Worth area, in the Houston area, and every other place in Texas. San Antonio has a lot of talent too. And so with us going to the SEC, what it's doing is allowing us to make sure that we do close those borders. No, we're not going to get all the talent, but what's going to happen is that talent is going to stay close to mama. They want mama to come see them play. And if they can play in the state of Texas at Texas or Texas A&M, or go to Oklahoma and play at Oklahoma, the mother has a small drive to go, and they can see their kid play 6 or 7 times a year. It's a win-win for the family and the schools as well. But I also want to bring the fact that Sark is going big game hunting, and he's trying to get the best talent, not only in the state of Texas, but when Sark wants somebody, he goes and gets who he wants wherever he wants. And so I like his national recruiting prowess, where he is recruiting not only Texas, but he is recruiting Florida. He is recruiting the state of California really big. He is recruiting Georgia. He's making sure that he gets whoever he wants whenever he wants. And I love that about Sark, man. And he really streamlines his scholarships that he kind of hands out. He knows the guys that he wants, and he stays on them. I told people this before. If Colin Simmons did not come into Texas and he went to LSU or Miami, Sark was not going to ease up on it. He was going to continue to recruit him until you cannot recruit anymore, until signing day 1 is over. I mean, that's the kind of relentless pursuit that this recruiting staff has here in Texas. And I think that's one of the main reasons when you look at what CDC, Chris Del Conte, did when he brought in the Steve Sarkisian. Texas knowing behind the scenes that they were working a deal to come to the SEC, it lets you know that he understood the assignment. And understanding the assignment means he understood that he had to go get somebody who knew the landscape of the SEC, the recruiting fields, who to bring over with him on his coaching staff. I think Sark has done a masterful job at that, bringing in the Jeff Banks, the Cal Floods, the Bo Davises, and then going up north to go get a guy like PK to kind of man that defensive side of the ball, but also going to go get a Terry Joseph, who is a hell of a recruiter in the state of Louisiana, because that's where he's from. And just to talk about the state of Louisiana for a minute, folks, Texas got the #1 offensive and defensive player from that state last year. Texas is in a really good position now this year to go get a guy like Dominic McKinley. If Sark can pull that off and go get a McKinley to go get not only the 2023 cycles, the #1 offensive player and the #1 defensive player, they can go out and do that same thing here this year in Louisiana. It puts people on notice that we understand that Sark can recruit. And that's one thing that I think we all knew, but it's one thing to see it in action and to see it at a team that is not yet in the SEC, but I'm going to give them the SEC badge now because everybody knows that they're going to the SEC in 2024. So Chris Del Conte knew what he was doing, hiring a guy like Steve Sarkisian who knew the landscape. And let's be quite honest, Sark knows what he's doing. A lot of people give him flag for not winning 10 games yet, or he's a 9 wins is his peak. But look, he did that at Washington. Washington didn't win a game. They didn't win a single game before he got there. And within 4 years, they were 9-4. And he left to go to Southern Cal. And we all understand the story at Southern Cal. But he's a changed man now, and I think the recruits love him, the parents love him, because people go through adversities, folks. This is life. Life is about falling down and picking yourself back up and winning. That's what Sark has done, and he's definitely winning here in Texas, especially on the recruiting cycle and the recruiting trail. So now we got to translate that to wins here for the 2023 season. I think Texas is going to be in a great shape to win a lot of games this year. I'm excited about it, but I'm really excited about what Sark is doing on the recruiting trail here at Texas. Now, we got to shore up some more on that defensive side of the ball on that line. I think Sark's going to do that for sure. And I'm excited, folks. Let me know what you guys think about this video, man. You guys know I usually am at home doing my videos, but today as I'm driving, I had to get this off my chest about Texas and their recruiting prowess and how Sark's doing and how excited I am about the Colin Simmons recruitment. And I think we got plenty more to come, folks. We got a lot of guys that are kind of up in the air on where they're going to go. But I think Texas is in great shape for a lot of top talent here, top tier talent here in the country. And I cannot wait to see it. One more thing about Colin Simmons too is you're getting the alpha, folks. You're getting the alpha. When I saw the interview post commitment, I think with Jerry Hamilton from Inside Texas, you saw the confidence that he exudes. This is a guy that knows he's going to do great things when he comes to whatever school he goes to, which is Texas now. He knows it's going to be great. And he said that Sark laid out the plan for him. He said Sark told him, look, we're going to get you here early. We got you in a 2.5 to 3 year plan where you're able to get your degree and go to the league. And he laid it out for him. He laid it out for him. That's what Colin Simmons said from his own mouth. Sark and team laid it out for him, how he's going to be able to get out of there in 3 years, get his degree, go to the league. He's that kind of talent. I think everybody knows and understands that. These are the talented players that Texas was missing out on previously. We missed out on this in the Tom Herman era with Kason. I would have loved to got him from the Houston area, but he ends up going to LSU and ends up becoming a top round pick there, like 2 years back or last year, and is doing great things here in the league as well. But these are the recruitments that Texas needs to win. They go to the SEC for that reason. They go to the SEC to compete in these battles against the LSUs, the Georgias, and Alabamas to win these kind of recruitments and to be a part of this. Is big time recruiting, folks. This is big time football in Texas. One of the biggest brands in college football. We got one of the most recognizable brands, and I think that they're set up for success going to the SEC in 2024 with the recruiting classes that Sark is stacking. But folks, like I said, I usually don't do these videos of me driving. I never do. I'm always stationary at home, but I'm driving to the beach and I had to get this off my chest, man. But hey, hook them, folks. In this podcast, like I end all of them. Do you? Don't be afraid to fail. Outgrow your environment. Understand your brilliance. Horns always up. Hook them. Peace. Deuces.